In 1995, a poison gas attack shook Japan. 13 people died in the attack with sarin in the Tokyo subway. But what is sarin gas? Sarin is one of the most toxic warfare weapons ever produced. Even 1 milligram on the skin can lead to respiratory paralysis and cardiac arrest in minutes and thus to death. The nerve gas is odorless, tasteless and invisible, so the victims do not realize that they are exposed to the phosphorus compound. Responsible for this horrific act was the end-time sect. Aum Shinrikyo. Shoko Asahara, the founder of the end-time sect Aum Shinrikyo responsible for the deadly sarin gas attack on the Tokyo subway in 1995, has been executed in Japan. This was reported by Japanese media on Friday morning, local time. He had been hanged. Accordingly, some followers of Asahara were executed in the same way. How many cult disciples there should have been, was initially unknown. Asahara was 63 years old. On March 20, 1995, at the time of the morning rush hour, members of the sect had stabbed plastic bags with sarin on several trains, releasing the deadly nerve gas. The crime took place directly under the government district of the Japanese capital. 13 people died, more than 6,000 were injured. Attack to prevent a raid. With the attack, the sect wanted to prevent a planned police raid against its headquarters at the foot of the holy Mount Fuji. Asahara, whose real name was Chijo Matsumoto, was later sentenced to death as a mastermind. In January, the last court case against members of the sect was concluded. Japan, the world's third largest economy, is one of the few industrialized countries to adhere to the death penalty. More than 190 Aum members were put on trial. Asahara and 12 other men were sentenced to death. Asahara had been on death row for more than a decade. Experts had warned in the past that executions could turn the perpetrators into martyrs in the eyes of their followers. Hi, this is History Recaps and this is the story. Preparing for the end of the world. In 1995, cult leader Shoko Asahara wanted to plunge Tokyo into chaos with 11 bags of the nerve agent sarin in order to underline his prophecies. He told his disciples, "Be ready to die." Founder and head of the Aum sect in Japan, Shoko Asahara, born Chijo Matsumoto in 1955. The almost blind guru with the flowing hair and the uncut beard prophesied the imminent apocalypse to his approximately 10,000 followers in Japan since about 1993. In 1997, quakes, fires, floods and a third world war would destroy the world. Only those who are then redeemed in the sense of Aum will survive. Because Japanese society did not take his warning seriously enough, Shoko Asahara decided to make an example. On the morning of March 20, 1995, at exactly 8 o'clock, 5 of his supporters on 5 subway trains in Tokyo deposited a total of 11 plastic bags wrapped in newsprint with a milky, slightly brownish liquid and stabbed them. Then they got out. In the next few seconds, the dying began. Because in the pierced plastic bags was sarin, a volatile poison gas. Partly the liquid leaked to the floor, partly it dripped down when the bags were in the luggage compartments above the benches. On the train of the Hibiya line, for example, people suddenly grabbed their throats, coughed violently, screamed in panic, they had the feeling of suffocating. At the next station, they pushed off the train. Bank employee Hirohuki Okada, 24 years old, said, "My eyes were burning, I was nauseous. There were moaning people everywhere." He quickly managed to get off the train. Matthias Vukovic, the 16-year-old son of the Austrian ambassador to Japan, wanted to take the subway to school. "Gas also flowed into my wagon," he said, "I was standing." Those who sat on the benches were worse off. Many passengers collapsed on the platform and rolled in cramps on the ground. They struggled for air, some tore off their clothes. Vukovic saw a puddle at the bottom of the wagon. When employees of the railway tried to wipe up the liquid, they fainted. The Japanese police knew immediately after the first emergency calls what they were dealing with. It was an attack with self-made sarin, a poison agent first synthesized in 1939 in the laboratory of IG Farben in Leverkusen. Because already 9 months earlier there had been a small, but essentially comparable attack, on the central Japanese city of Matsumo. In the late evening of June 27, 1994, self-produced sarin had also been released there. 7 people died, an 8th fell into a coma and died in 2008. In Matsumo, there was a petition against the Aum sect, which supported 140,000 people. Further attacks partly with sarin, partly with other warfare weapons such as phosgene or VX were also blamed on the group. But there was no concrete evidence against the followers of Shoko Asahara. The sect was now monitored more closely. After the attack in Tokyo with immediately 11 dead, 37 serious and more than 6,000 other injured, the police intervened. The next morning at 6 o'clock 2,500 officers stormed the 25 branches of the Aum Shinrikyo nationwide. They had tear gas and crowbars with them, wore gas masks and a secret weapon, cages with canaries. The branches, some of which were very lavishly equipped, were barricaded. The canaries served as a living alarm system against poison gas. But the mission came too late. Because the sect had already transported truck by truck possible incriminating material from the cult headquarters in Kamiku Ishiki, in front of running TV cameras of 2 private broadcasters, which had the right suspicion. One cult member said to the microphone, "We're doing spring cleaning." Shoko Asahara and the top had apparently fled. Nevertheless, the police still found 34 boxes of toxic chemicals, among them was methyl cyanide, a solvent needed to make sarin. In addition, the soldiers discovered 52 women and men in satin robes who had almost starved to death. On a radio station in Russia, where he even had up to 30,000 followers, the guru called out to his disciples, "Be ready to die." Tokyo was lucky in misfortune. The poison had been produced in a kind of house laboratory and was comparatively impure. The responsible chemists Seiichi Endo and Masami Tsuchiya did not come close to the toxicity of professionally synthesized sarin. On May 16, 1995, during a renewed search, the police found Guru Shoko Asahara in a tiny hiding place in the cult headquarters. The last wanted accomplices were only arrested in Tokyo in 2012, where they lived under false identities. In several trials, 13 main perpetrators were sentenced to death. Among them Shoko Asahara, the chemists Seiichi Endo and Masami Tsuchiya, as well as all 5 cult members who had laid out the 11 bags in the subway trains on March 20, 1995. However, they were all executed only in July 2018, after more than 23 years on death row. Several dozen helpers received life imprisonment. Many of the injured still suffer from impaired vision a quarter of a century later. Thanks for watching. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, please subscribe, like and hit the bell.